Lindsay is a wonderful trainer, and we're so excited to have her here with us today. I see everyone saying hello in the chat box, so we're excited to have everyone. So as we're going through, just remember there is the Q&A box. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put the questions in there, and we will answer them as we go along. So I will turn it over now to Lindsay, who will take us through. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thanks, Brittany. Hi, everybody. I can't believe we have almost 400 people on here. I was going to tell Brittany earlier, what if nobody gets on? What are we going to do? So yes, I'm just as disappointed that we're not having Colbert present today as well, but hopefully I'll make up for it a little bit, and hopefully we'll get with him sometime soon. So you are with me today on Don't Quit Yet, You're Making a Difference. So I hope you enjoy. As Brittany said, we will be monitoring the chat box as much as we can. So let's get started. So who am I? So my name is Lindsay Stockman. I have a master's in public health, as well as I'm a certified substance abuse prevention consultant. I live in Hickory, North Carolina. I saw we had some Hickory people and some North Carolina people in the chat. So super excited to have you guys. If you don't know where that is, I'm between Charlotte, which is the middle of North Carolina, and the western part of the state. So I have, my current role is a community health coordinator for Live Well Catawba. So I'm actually in my full-time job right now at Public Health. And I've been in coalition work for about 11 years, and I've been in prevention for 14 years. In 2018, I was the CADCA Advocate of the Year for the advocacy role that I played with our state. I am a CADCA trainer, so I hope I see some of you, I probably recognize your names, so glad to have you with us today. And I also teach a class at the community college for community health workers. So why, I don't know, but I have 3 jobs. So let's talk a little bit about today. So our learning objectives for today are to discover why you and your colleagues are in this work, learn how to make things more fun, because who doesn't need to be not fun? We need to be more fun. Engage different political and elected officials, and to discover some tips, tricks, and happy accidents that coalition work will bring to you. So we're going to discuss all these different things today. Here's our current agenda. So we are going to be talking about SAMHSA's 8 dimensions of wellness. We're going to talk about how to be more creative, some communication tips, leading the charge for change. We're going to talk about why we do this work. We're going to develop our personal mission statements. We're going to talk about some activity and group work that you all are going to do here via the chat box that you can then take back with you to your coalitions. Again, tips, tricks, and happy accidents for the coalition work that we do. And then the parking lot. So my question for you all, and I want you to utilize the chat box, and these are my 2 puppies, are what other items would you like to learn today? What other items should we discuss? So I'm gonna just let you guys put that in the chat box, and I'll have Brittany monitor that for us while we keep going. So again, what else other than these agenda items would you like to have me address today? So. All right, so just a couple of acronyms, because I know that acronyms are the death of coalition work, right? We always have so many. So you might hear me reference just a few, and these are the ones that I might. So, okay, I see some questions in the chat. I will come back to that. So CADCA, of course, we all know Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. DFC, or Drug-Free Communities, that large grant we all want. CSAPC, a Certified Substance Abuse Prevention Consultant. Block Grant, which are dollars that are earmarked for providers that come through the state through your LME or MCO. What's an LME or MCO? It's your local management entity or management care organization. And then I'm going to mention NCA a couple of times, and that is the National Coalition Academy. So I saw a few things in the chat box. First of all, this husky is Jasper. He's our newest addition to our family. He was rehomed with us from a family that can no longer afford to keep him. He is a handful. I've never had a full-blooded dog before, and he's testing me, but he's a sweetheart. He's about 1.5 years. And this is Bailey, our rescue, and she will be 8 this year. So she is a Black Lab Border Collie mix. The slides will be emailed out afterwards. I wanted to tweak a couple of things due to COVID with this PowerPoint, so I will email them out to Brittany, and I'm sure they will get them all to you later. And we will be addressing burnout and self-care. So thank you all for putting those in there. Interpersonal needs, we're going to talk about that. And let me see, I saw one other one. how to make alcohol prevention a priority. Yep, we're going to address some of these things. So again, feel free to stop me at the end. We'll address anything we haven't covered, and hopefully we'll have time for some of that. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness. So this is a SAMHSA concept, and SAMHSA goes through all these different dimensions. Okay, they go through emotional, environmental, intellectual, physical, occupational, spiritual, social, and financial. And what we're going to do now is go through each one of these individually. And I would like to say have a conversation, but since I can't see you all, which I wish I could, you're going to enter stuff in the chat box as we go along. Okay. So first we have emotional. So emotional really means how you're coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. So really, how do you deal with the day-to-day? Like, how do you recoup after a really long day? You know, for me, I just need to be alone. I need to put on my comfy clothes and zone out and check my email, my personal email, check my Facebook, and just kind of have some alone time, play with the puppies, do those little things. And that's what I need to do. But what I want you to think about is, what do you need to do in order to deal with a long day? How do you recoup emotionally from that? Okay, so think about that. Also, you know, we all get in moods. So when you get in a mood, how do you pull yourself out of that? You know, I said I worked at public health, and I do. So I was only sent home for a short amount of time. I've been back in the office since before summer. So I often find myself going through these different emotions. So, you know, how do you pull yourself out of that mood? Because, you know, we're still working with the communities, we're still doing things. So how do you pull yourself out of that? You know, example for me is I will just tell my colleagues and coworkers, I'm just going to go for a lap. And what I mean is I'm going to take a walk around the parking lot. I'm just going to get outside for a few minutes, you know, take my mask off since we're wearing masks in here. Or I'm just going to take a lap around the inside of the building if it's not nice outside. Just to kind of get away, walk away from my desk, get up, stretch, step away. So sometimes you just have to do that. So think about, what can you do to pull yourself out of these moods that we sometimes get in? Spiritual. So expanding a sense of purpose and meaning in life. So what do you do to keep your spiritual needs met? Okay. You know, it could be hiking. It could be being in nature. It could be meditating. It could be going to church. That could also be online church. You know, what do you do? I know for me, I like to be outside. I don't necessarily enjoy hiking as much, but I do like to be outside with the family, with the dogs, and I also like to meditate. We got some people chatting in the box saying, read. Yep. Yep, pray. Different kinds of things. So there's all different kinds of things that you can do, but it's really important, and while we're going over these 8 dimensions of wellness, it's really important that you tap into all these different 8 in order to help cope with the work that we do, and in order to be true to yourself, to keep yourself in check so that you're being the best you that you can be. We're getting a lot more music. I love that. Yoga, playing a musical instrument. I love it. I love it. One of my other favorite things is to just drive with loud music. Writing, meditation, long walks, art, all these great things, and we're going to talk more about them. So intellectual. So with intellectual, you really want to recognize creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. So with this one, and this one is one of my favorites because 1, I love the picture, but 2, we try to do really fun things here internally with our team. So one of the things that we had done a couple years ago, we called it the Big, Small, Quirky Awards for our team. So everybody would tell us what's one big thing that happened to you this week, what's one small thing, and then what's something totally random that was kind of odd that happened. And then everybody would talk about it, and then whoever won the biggest one would get a small prize. And I'm talking like a piece of chocolate, or it was like, you know, you can come in a few minutes late tomorrow, whatever it was, somebody would get something for small, and then whoever had the most random thing happen. So just small things like that. Another thing we did was we did awards for the coalition members. So, you know, our coalition members work so hard, and we did some really funny awards. And one of my favorites was called the Loch Ness Monster Award. And we literally got like a dinosaur, and I glued him to a little piece of wood and spray painted him. And I gave it to a police officer I'd worked with, and that's because I knew he existed, but it was very hard to find, and he thought it was hilarious. I also gave out pom-poms to our biggest cheerleader. She was the one that on all of our in-kind forums, she would spent 10 hours this week, answering emails or promoting or tabling for the coalition. So all those different things. Just make it fun. Something else we've started here since COVID, and if I have any Office fans in here, is that we got a box. And we started putting our complaints in the box. And we say that it's the Toby box. So in the office, Toby, who's the HR director, he has a box for Dwight to give all the complaints about Jim to. So we all put our complaints in the box, and then at the end of the week, we shred them. So it's just something fun, and there's nothing really serious in there. It's just something fun to like vent, right? Just something to be like, I'm having a really bad day. Or I forgot my tennis shoes, I can't go walking today, and I can't walk in these heels. Something just fun. It's just funny. So things to keep you on your toes and to still have fun. So this one, and I had a lot of compliments on this one last time, and I just think it's fun. So we're not going to do the activity, but I'm going to explain it to you, and then I'll just give you a minute kind of process. So for your coalition, it's really important, especially right now with COVID, things are kind of halted, but it's really important to keep everybody engaged. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about these two images. So we have a sloth and we have a unicorn. You can pick either one, but what you're going to do is you're going to pitch a sloth or a unicorn, and which one will be the most valuable to your coalition. So here's an example. We had a group last time say, we're going to pitch the unicorn because the unicorn can help us in all 8 dimensions. We can even grind the unicorn horn down just a little bit to get some of that magic dust to help us write grants or to help us recruit coalition members. Or some people say, we want to be more meticulous like the sloth. We want to think more and just take things a little bit slower and just take a step back and maybe chill a little bit. So think about which one would be the most impactful to your coalition. Would it be the unicorn or to be a sloth? And I think you could find, different reasons for both, but it makes it more fun. And you can kind of, learn from your coalition members a little bit too. It makes it interesting to see what they're going to say and why. The why is really important, and it's really fun. So that's one thing that you could take back. A lot of people want to be unicorns. I understand. That's probably what I would do too. But I do like a good sloth. So physical. Physical is more recognizing the need for physical activity, healthy food, and sleep. All of these are important to physical. I really like my little desk person right here. I need some exercise. Okay, so we are all sitting more than usual now, especially if you're working from home. I'm sitting a lot more in my office because I have so many Zoom meetings. I average probably 3 a day, and that's a lot to just sit here on screens. And I don't have them right now, but I did invest in blue light glasses. So if you haven't and you're on screens a lot, really good investment to help with the screens and your eyes. And anyways, so there's all kinds of things that you can do while you're still working that can help with physical activity. So of course you want to make sure you get your sleep every night. You want to do some exercise. Like I said, even if that's a lap around the parking lot, if that's doing some stretching, some yoga, you want to try and eat healthy. You want to just, make sure you're getting all those different food groups if you can. Some other things that we've tried to incorporate just here are walking meetings. So I have another colleague who's behind this wall behind me, and she and I will do a walking meeting just to get out for 10 minutes and just take a slow pace and just have our little meeting if we don't need, to be in front of our screen. I did have a team that did squats every day, and they would go and they would be in a circle and they would just do squat challenges. It was really cool. They were really cool about it. It was really fun. You can go at your own pace, but they tried to do so many squats a day. So that was cool. You can also just take a few minutes and rest your eyes in your office if you need to, or your car. I've been known for that. I'll take my lunch, I'll go to my car and eat it, and just lay back and close my eyes for a good 15, 20 minutes if I have it. It's really important that you can't spend all day at your desk, right? I miss being in the community. I miss seeing all my people in person, but it's just not safe to do so right now. So, making sure getting up, taking those breaks, and I'm doing all these other things to not only keep myself physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. So keep all those in mind. Oh, we finally got one sloth. I like it. To be slow and steady and focused, determined and strategic. I like that one. Thank you for sharing. Our next one is environmental. So environmental means you want to try and be in good health by by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. So just put in the chat box for me if you're a paid staff. Let me know if you're a paid staff. And if you're not, let me know if you're a volunteer. You know, I say this because it's just important to know, you know, who we have on the call and who's not. Oh, mostly paid staff. We appreciate you being here. So, you know, one of the things that I think we don't give credit to is all the time that we put in. So it's really important to think of your environment and where you're working and what's happening, right? So one of the things I've often done is, you know, I'm going to work from home today because I can get stuff done. Or I'm going to work the morning from home because I'm more productive in the morning, and then I'll come in the afternoon for meetings. You know, I think a lot of people are trying to do that now. So just be mindful of your environment and think about, you know, when you're not working, you know, try not to be at that same environment. So for me, I told you guys I teach a community college class. It's actually on Wednesday nights and it's virtual. So I do that at my formal dining room table because we don't use it. So I have all my stuff there. So any other time during the week, I am not at that table. I am not right there doing anything unless it's related to that class. So, you know, same thing in my office. I try not to do anything here unless it's related to CADCA or my work, you know. Also, you know, think about what you do when you're off. You know, on my day off, I need me time. So I like to go to Barnes & Noble and walk around if I can. I like to go outside with the dogs, just be out, not in the same environment that I'm always in. So I try to get out of the house for a little bit, right? So financial, this one is always interesting. So satisfaction with current and future financial situations. So the majority of everybody said paid staff, if not all of you. So I think it's safe to say that none of us are in coalition work for the money, right? We do it because it comes from our hearts and we're passionate about it. So really, you know, how else can we help ourselves financially? Okay. Can we save more? Can we eat out less? Can we bring our own coffee from home? Can we work off paying our debt? Okay. But how else could we help our coalitions financially? Could we say we're really good at working with law enforcement? Maybe we could develop a training and offer to train others for a small fee. That's an example of something I did with one of the coalitions I worked for, and it went really well. And what happens with that is then you have a little bit of money that has no strings attached to it. And that was really the selling point for us in our coalition, is that we didn't have a grant funder to report to on that. We didn't have anybody responsible. That money was for the coalition to 100% dictate how we used it. So it could have been for t-shirts for the coalition. It could have been for a pizza party. You know, it could have been for whatever, but we earned that money and it was up to them how they wanted to spend it. So just keeping that in mind, okay? Occupational. So occupational is the personal satisfaction you have and the enrichment from one's work, okay? So, you know, I chose to go into public health a couple of years ago. And why I decided to do that is because I really wanted to marry both public health and substance abuse prevention into one. I needed more out of substance abuse prevention in my state. I was tired of the fight. I was tired of always being that person with all the questions and the negativity, because I had lots of questions. So, you know, I felt like the next step would be to try and marry them together. So that's what I've been trying to do for the last 2 years. So think about, excuse me, your satisfaction with the work that you're doing, and if it's fulfilling you or not. And if it's not, what next step can you take to make it fulfill yourself? Social. So social is also very important. And I see we have some DFC year 10 financial instability. I totally get it. We can talk more about that. So, excuse me. So social, developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. This is also very important within our 8 dimensions of wellness. You know, we have to be social. We're social beings, but it's also very hard right now. So what I have here pictured for you is, like I said, Barnes & Noble. I love to just walk around. Half the time I buy books I don't need because I have so many. Just being outside. So I do live in the mountains. I love the mountains. They're my favorite. to just go out, take pictures, look at it. No, I did not take this picture. And then I have an alumni group I'm pretty close with, some friends from my MPH program that I graduated from this past year. And we're all pretty close. We keep touch with each other. We call each other. We vent to each other. So I have a close-knit group of colleagues that I can lean on. So it's important that we still keep that in mind. Excuse me. So being creative. So according to the Webster Dictionary, the definition of creative is relating to or involving the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. So I was on a webinar not too long ago where the superintendent for a school system in New York told us about a study where they had 3 and 4-year-olds were given a test, and they tested at the genius levels, okay? The same test was then given to 7 and 8-year-olds, and they tested at average or below. Why, he told us, was because we robbed children of being creative. So how can you be creative as an adult? And here are just some examples. Etsy, I think, is a great example of people being creative. Doodles are creative, just like right here. Scrapbooking, memories, anything like that. The new latest fad, TikTok. People were laughing at me. I have a TikTok account. I don't create videos. I just watch people because they're hilarious and it's really good comic relief. And then this one I thought was funny. That would take a lot of organizing. Maybe if they would just make it a Facebook event. So things to think about. But just think about how you could be creative in your life and in the work that we do. So I'm going to give you some more examples. Excuse me. Creativity doesn't stop in the workplace. So this is actually my office that you're going to see. I'm the only person in the whole office who has decorated their door. I have my little flying pig here that says possibilities. Over here, I have one of my quotes that I love, that I bought this. I thought it was beautiful. I then have my llama, who's over here. I have a board with pictures of the dogs and just quotes that I really love. I have Olaf and just, you know, different things that I really care about. I have pictures. I have my family. I have my unicorn over here. I can read you the quote that I love. It says, "May your heart find joy and your soul its dreams." That's the quote that's on the thing hanging by my door. I have tons of fun Sharpies and markers and everything. I really like my salt rock lamp. It's supposed to help with the negative ions that are within the atmosphere since we're on so much technology, and I think it really helps. I have a balloon animal. I have some awards that I've won, just things that kind of like lift me up and make me feel better after a long day. Okay, so things to think about. How could you make your space just a little bit more inviting for you? Okay, and you'll see here's what it looks like. And I've actually flipped it around a little, but you know, I have flowers and I have this unicorn is actually an eraser. I have a Rubik's Cube you can write on. I have a essential oil diffuser right here, some mints. People come in all the time to steal my mints. Not steal, to take some, because that's what they're there for. But I think it's funny. So all kinds of just fun things, little things that we can do to just make our office just a little bit more inviting because we're there all the time. So some other ways to incorporate some creativity. You want to make it fun. And I love this Garfield quote. Are we having fun yet? Because most of the time people are going to say, nah, probably not. So play a game. Okay, go outside, have that walking meeting, or we actually all brought a lawn chair from home and had our team meeting outside here in the courtyard. We were socially distanced. We had our mask on. Yes, it's Baby Yoda mess today. You also want to celebrate. So celebrate, you know, buy the person you're with a cup of coffee, buy the cookie cake to celebrate, which might be difficult now. So maybe buy a cupcake. You want to incentivize people. And if you want to try and share a meal together. Now, here at my office, we all try to take our breaks. We all definitely try to take lunch breaks. If we don't, we're always on top of each other, which is great. We always try to make sure we don't eat at our desk either, because you want to get away. But sometimes we do share a meal together, but we all bring our own food and say, okay, we're going to meet here at this spot at 12 o'clock. And we all bring our food and social distance and we have lunch together. And we are allowed to talk about anything but work. So just something to have fun. Somebody also said they have morning coffee break with staff on Zoom. That is awesome. We've done that with the coalition too, and that's a lot of fun. So let's see. I did a communication game one time with staff, and I bought the headband game where you like write something or you have a card and you put it on your forehead and you have to communicate. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I think it's just really important. The biggest one on this one for me is to celebrate. I feel like we really don't celebrate our small wins enough. So things to think about. So did you know that if you work 40 hours a week for 50 weeks out of the year, that equals over 2,000 hours? If you work 2,000 hours a year for 30 years, that's 60,000 hours. So we spend more time with our colleagues and in our offices than we do at home. So if that's not enough reason to make it fun, then I don't know what is, because we're going to be with these people a lot, and we are even more now than we used to be. So make it fun, be creative. So communication. So when was the last time that you picked up the phone and called someone to ask them something and you did not email them or did not send them? You actually called them. When was the last time you did that? Think about that. You didn't Zoom them either. Okay. Oh, there we go. Last week, yesterday, yay. That makes me so happy that you guys are actually calling people and not just texting and not just Zooming, because communication is about so much more than just the phone, right? If we were in different times right now, we would be having coffee with people, we would be getting together more often, and we might not be right now, but you know, relationships and communication is about more than just this phone. So don't be afraid to just pick up the phone and call somebody. So conveying your needs. Oh, I like that. I'm old school. I prefer the phone. I like that. I prefer that too. You have to be honest with yourself, okay? You need to be transparent with your coalition. You need to take a mental health day, and I want you to call it that on your calendar, okay? This is not my calendar. This is just somebody's I pulled. But is this what your calendar looks like? I bet it looks even more crazy than this, right? You have overlapping things like, well, if I can get to it, if this meeting ends early, I can make it to this. And then there's this webinar I really want to do. So maybe I can make it to that, and I'll just put my camera off and I'll eat during that. Crazy, okay? So make time for yourself, okay? The mental health day, I heard this from a woman, and this was one of my favorites. This has been years and years and years ago. She said that her boss had called her, and like the big boss, and said he needed to meet with her at 1 o'clock that day. And she's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm getting a pedicure during my lunch, so I can meet with you after. And he was like, oh, okay. And that was it. It was not a big deal. They met later. So you have to schedule you time on your calendar. I put it on my calendar, you know. I even put when I'm going to go exercise, but I don't call it exercise. I call it recess, because that was also her suggestion. And I was like, I like that, because when we're little, our favorite time is recess. So why do we change it to working out? It's not as fun. You also want to get out of the office. Just get out if you can and get an intern. Just do it. Totally worth it. Okay, totally worth getting an intern. We currently have 2 right now. And one of them is doing nothing but researching and attending those webinars that we can't right now. And she's reporting back to us, which is awesome. She's super into it. She loves it, and like, more power to her. I love her. She's great. And just be honest with yourself. This is a picture of my husband. Sometimes he just tells me, he's like, you just need a day. Like, even if I'm not feeling it yet, he's like, why don't you like put in for like a Friday? Like, let's just take a day. And I'm like, oh, okay. Am I that bad? And he's just like, no, but you need a day. So sometimes even having other people telling you maybe when you need a day, or just a shorter day, a half a day, okay? Oh, someone's eating lunch. I saw it. A couple of people are eating lunch. See, you're on this webinar eating lunch. Does that mean you're gonna work like a 9 or 10 hour day? Not okay. You better be leaving early. Not okay. So why? Excuse me. So Simon Sinek, who I love, he has developed the why. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I think we have time to show this. So I'm going to pull it up on my other screen over here, and we're going to show this really quick. I'm just going to give me 1 second to type it in, because I didn't think we'd have time, but I think we do. So Well, okay. Let's see. I agree. This book is amazing. If you guys have not seen it, not read it, you totally should. Totally should. All right, let me make sure the video will pop up. All right, I know you can hear it. Let me get to the part that we need. Okay, so now I'm going to still stop share because I have 3 screens, guys. This is you know, first world problems, 3 screens. Okay, so you should be able to see Simon Sinek.
Right in it.
So here we go.
As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way. And it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. It's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. And that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into 3 major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle 2 sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do.
So that is Simon Sinek. So I had several people asking me to share the link, and it will totally be in the PowerPoint slides that you all get. Somebody else posted that link, so thank you. Appreciate you guys for doing that. Let me, this is the first world problem with too many screens. Stop share. All right. So I highly encourage everybody to do the full recording from him. So the PowerPoint will be sent out after. Brittany and Monique are gonna tell us how they're gonna do that later. But I will send it to them and they will get it out to you all. Yep, Simon Sinek has several books. One of them is Leaders Eat Last. Yep, I totally agree. It's also very revolutionary. I think he's wonderful. I've enjoyed him for many years. So, you know, please look him up. He has 3 books, I believe, 3 or 4. And he also does several different TED Talks. So look those up because it's totally worth it. All right, so now we're gonna do a little activity. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about why you're in this work or why you volunteer. So either paid staff or you volunteer. So I want you to think about that, okay? I want you to just think about why you're in this work. And then what I want you to do is I want you to get as personal as you want to. You don't have to get personal. And we're not gonna really share these since I can't see you all because there's no right answer, okay? But I want you to just think about it. And here's an example. So these are my 2 nieces, love them dearly, junior and sophomore in high school. And one of the reasons I've been in this work for a long time is because I want them to have a better future than what I had when I was their age. So it could be family. It could also be maybe you're in recovery, long-term recovery. Maybe you know someone in recovery. There's all kinds of different reasons you could be in this work. Okay, so just think about that reason. And we're gonna get into just in a few minutes exactly why. Other than my nieces and my family, my most current why is this was my best friend growing up. Her name was Danielle, and she passed away in 2018. She had an addiction and kept it hidden from everybody. And unfortunately, she passed away. And so she is one of the reasons why, you know, me and some of her other friends stay really close now, that we had lost touch after high school just because we miss her and we want her to have, you know, living through us. We want her to live on. So think about that. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're going to write our personal mission statement. And this is one of my favorite activities. So I'm going to walk you through step by step, and then we're going to take a minute to write it. So step 1, think of someone that you admire. What qualities do they have? It can be accomplishments or their personality. One of the people that I admire was a professor I had in undergrad. His name was Seamus McNerney. Can't make that up. His name was Seamus McNerney, and he was amazing. Any class he taught, I took because he was just a great person. He was very open-minded. He was absolutely wonderful. He was willing to stay after class or come early and just have conversations. I just really liked his sense of himself and his energy. So that's somebody I admire. So think about somebody that you admire and some of their qualities. So step 2 is to think about the person that you want to become. What does that person look like? Are they a leader? Are they more patient? Have they developed their grant writing skills? What does that person look like? What skills do they have that you might not have? Okay, so think about that. Step 3, thinking of your coalition. How do you want your coalition to think of you? If you were to retire tomorrow, right, fingers crossed, if you were to retire tomorrow, what would you want your coalition members, your colleagues and staff as well, to say about you and how you want them to remember you? Think about that. Would you want them to say, he was so patient, she was so kind, he was great with the community, she was wonderful with the youth? What do you want them to say about you? Think about that. Step 4, what are your goals for your life when it comes to physically, emotionally, intellectual, and financially? So some of those dimensions that we just covered. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve? For me, I never thought I would go to graduate school. I was a horrible student, you guys. Horrible student. So for me to go and be able to get in and get my master's was a huge deal to me. So that's a goal I accomplished, not for anybody else, just for myself. So think about your goals. What do you want to accomplish? Also for me financially, I just want to be able to go grocery shopping and not have to check the bank account. Okay, because as we talked about earlier, we're not in this for the money. We're in it because we care. Step 5, what are all of your strengths, no matter how big or how small? What do you do well? Okay, what do you do well? Number 6, write at least one SMART goal for yourself. So when we're talking about SMART goals, we're talking about specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time sensitive. Okay, so write a SMART goal for yourself. Thank you, Brittany. Everybody's asking about the slides. So they'll be available tomorrow. They'll be posted. Okay, so you guys will have them tomorrow. Oh, somebody missed step 5. We're gonna go back for a second. Step 5 is, what are all of your strengths? No matter how big or small, what do you do well? I make a mean lasagna. No matter how big or how small, okay? After we hit all the steps, guys, we'll go back, okay? After I go through all the steps. So then step 6 was to write at least one SMART goal for yourself: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time sensitive, right? Step 7 is you want to write a personal mission statement. So you want to be positive. You want to think about you now and you in the future with who you want to be. It can be short or long, but think of this as something that you can read daily to help motivate you. It could be a mantra. It could be something short and sweet. It could be long, but something that you could carry with you that you could say to yourself every day about why you're in this work, why you're doing what you're doing, okay? And then there's one more step, and then I'll go back through them. And then step 8 is redo. It can take a long time to create your own personal mission statement, so don't get discouraged if you don't get it on the first try. What I would do is write out whatever you're feeling today, put it aside, look at it again tomorrow, okay? And over time, over the next week, reread it, read it out loud, revise it, look in the mirror and do it, whatever you need to do, okay? So then really quickly, we'll go through all the steps. So step 1, someone you admire, what you admire about them. Step 2, Think about the person that you want to become. And what does that person look like? Okay. Oh, I love it. Somebody said number 5. They make a great peach cobbler. Might need the recipe. Step 3, thinking of your coalition. How do you want them to think of you? If you were to retire tomorrow, what would you want your coalition members, your staff, to say about you? How do you want them to remember you? Step 4, what are your goals for your life when it comes to physically, emotionally, intellectual, and financially? Think about some of those 8 dimensions of wellness that we talked about. Step 5, what are all of your strengths, no matter how big or how small? What do you do well? I also think I'm a good dog mom. Something I do well. Step 6, you're going to write your SMART goal for yourself. Step 7 is when you're going to write your own personal mission statement and thinking about you now and you in the future and what can motivate you. So be positive. Could be a mantra, could be short, could be long. So number 1 is someone, that you admire. And then 8, you're going to redo it. So again, it can take a long time. It could take weeks for you to develop your own personal mission statement and what you want it to look like. So don't get frustrated on the first go around, because sometimes you just need to write out everything and then narrow it down, maybe rephrase it, talk it out loud, etc. All right. And again, these slides will be posted tomorrow for you guys to redo this activity. So now we're going to do another activity because that one can be kind of heavy. So we're going to do this. So type yes in the chat if you have led a meeting before. Just type yes if you've led a meeting before. Any type of meeting. Okay, got some hands raised. Perfect. All right, number 2, type yes in the chat if you have a boss or if you're the boss. Okay, type yes in the chat if you're the boss or if you have a boss. All right. Number 3, type yes in the chat if you went to college. Or you can raise your hand. That works perfectly fine too. Thanks, everybody. Yep. All right. Number 4, type yes in the chat if you have a pet. Any kind of pet. Okay. Question 5, type yes in the chat if you have children. I consider my fur babies children, so I'm going to go with a yes for me. Okay. Type yes in the chat if this is your first CADCA webinar. Couple people. All right, that's exciting. That's exciting. Number 7, type yes in the chat if you wish people understood what you did more. Guys, I can't make this up. When we were doing drug takebacks at one of my old positions, my husband would tell people at his job that I would collect drugs. Like, I think people thought I was a drug dealer. I was like, please stop telling people that. You do not understand what I do for a living. Okay. Question 8, type yes in the chat if you have taken a vacation or vacation days since COVID started. I better see all yeses. All yeses. I know somebody's gonna be like, no. Awesome. Okay. Question 9, type yes in the chat if you or someone you know suffers from a mental illness. Okay. And question 10, type yes in the chat if you or someone you know is in recovery or is currently addicted to a substance. Okay. Type yes in the chat if you or someone you know is currently in recovery or is currently addicted to a substance. Okay. Thank you guys for doing that. I really appreciate all of you participating. So my whole point in that is to tell you that you're not alone. Okay, you're not alone. I know it feels like it, especially right now with all the restrictions and us having to really work virtually, but you're not. We are all virtually connected right now in a room full of people who are just like us. So take the time, and we'll have a few minutes at the end for sharing your information with others so people can reach out and you guys can connect. CADCA also has great platforms for you all to connect, and I think those are wonderful. But I'm showing you pictures here, and you probably recognize some of these people. This is Angela, Christina, and Giovanna, and we all met when we were training to become CADCA trainers, and we all bonded, and they are some of my best friends and people that I can call and vent to about this work, because not everybody understands, like my husband. So there are people I can call and rely on, even though we're all across the country. So I'm in North Carolina, Giovanna over here is in South Carolina, Christina is in Tennessee, and Angela is in California. So no matter what, we all text. We keep a text going between all of us, and we have a great time. You might see these bears here. This is when we ended our training, and we all got a bear. I have mine. It's a green one. You might have seen it on my shelf. So you're just not alone. So it's important to make friends within this work, because you really need people you can rely on. All right. So we're going to go into the second part, which I call tips, tricks, and happy accidents, what no one told me about coalition work that I had to figure out on my own. So hope you'll stay with me. So just some tips. You really do want to make friends. You always want to be nice, polite, considerate, and respectful. We just talked about this, but you never know who that friend is going to end up being or who they know as well. You want to be confident, yet you don't want to be afraid to say, I don't know. I've tried to tell this to all my interns I've ever had, with, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, but I'm going to try and find an answer for you. So I'll follow up. Okay. But I'm not above saying I don't know the answer, because I don't know everything. And I think it says a lot to our character if we're just honest about that. You want to get certified. So if you are working in the substance abuse prevention world, get certified. Totally worth it. It's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it in my opinion. And you also want to go through the National Coalition Academy, NCA. Okay. Great learning, great teachers. So think about going through NCA if you haven't already. One tip I will tell you is one of the coalitions I worked with, we put it in our budget every other year in DFC for people to get trained. Because what if people leave, right? Then you just train them in the National Coalition Academy, and then they decide to move on. Well, now I need more people trained. So it's a good investment. Again, this goes with being confident and saying you're going to find the answer. You want to follow through, but also you want to follow up. So I'm going to follow through and find that answer, but then I'm going to call Brittany and say, hey, Brittany, I found the answer. Here it is. Or I haven't found the answer yet. I know it's been 24 hours. This is where I'm at. So you want to be sure that you follow up and you follow through. You want to be political, and we're going to talk about this more in a minute, but you also want to be careful being political. And we'll talk more about that in a second. You always want to be prepared. You always want to have your 30-second elevator speech available and always have materials with you. So this is a little different now that we're in COVID, but previous, I would keep coalition materials in my car and I always have them in my notebook with me. So if somebody's like, what is the coalition? Blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you about it. Here's a little flyer. It's okay to annoy people, but you don't want to stalk people. So there is a difference. And I'm going to give you some more examples about that in just a second. And you also want to be open to new ideas, especially for those that have been in this field for a long time. It can be hard because you're like, well, we've always done it this way and this has always worked. Well, maybe somebody else has a new idea or an old idea that didn't work 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, but it might work now. So just be open to some of those ideas. It's also great to be a leader, but learn how to follow. Let others be a leader. So think about that. So being political, told you guys we were going to talk about this. This is retired Sheriff Ben Duncan. I worked with him a lot in my previous role, and he was a good friend of mine. We became really good friends. He went through the National Coalition Academy with me, and he was a great advocate for the coalition. You know, at the end of the day, I had told him, I don't need you to come to my meetings. I just need you to assign somebody to the coalition. And that's what he did. And we had a great person assigned to us, and he was really good to us. So, you know, keeping in mind, law enforcement is very beneficial for you to have on your side. Okay. Same thing with your local representatives. So years ago, these were my 2 local representatives. This one over here is the one without the flag behind him. But what happened was I got a call that said, you know, drug-free community funding might be going away. And one of these gentlemen had the ear of someone on the finance cabinet, whatever was meeting, and they wanted me to make a call. So I did, and I met with staffers and had a great conversation. And they, even though our political views are 100% opposite, which is totally fine, they don't need to know that, and they never will, because substance abuse, mental health, all of it is bipartisan, okay? It covers everybody. So they were able to, you know, voice the concerns about if drug-free communities went away. And we were able to, you know, leverage that with us a little bit. So get to know your local representatives, get to know them, so that way you see them when they come back to your local area. Even if you don't meet with them and you meet with their staffers are just as important, if not more so, because they have their ear. I think what's really powerful is I got a call from one of the staffers a while back, said that he was going to be in town and he had a 30-minute window. So I drove an hour and a half to get there to this meeting, and he remembered everything we had previously talked about. No, I'm sure that the staffer was writing all these notes, but he was, tell me about this. How did this go? Blah, blah, blah. How did this go? We really like this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, hi, Holly. Yeah, I miss Kevin too. But, you know, he remembered everything we did, and he remembered the numbers, and he wanted me to give him updates all the time so he could continue to voice why we needed funding for the work that we were doing. So just keeping that in mind. They really do care. So I said bipartisan. You are all now bipartisan. Okay. So I was completely honest with you. When you are advocating for your coalition, it's a bipartisan issue. It crosses all the lines, okay? Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, everything, because it affects everybody. So you do not voice your political concerns when you're talking to these local entities, okay? Now, if you're gonna go to Capitol Hill, you wanna do that, we can have another conversation. There's a whole nother way to do that. But when I meet with people, they don't need to know how I vote. No, I'm not going to wear my button that says who I'm voting for, or my mask or whatever, because I'm talking about an issue that affects everyone. So it's important to be respectful of everybody, because you want them to respect you as well. You don't want to walk in there and just, you know, they're no longer going to listen to you because of something you're wearing, whether it's a button or a mask. I want to go in there and be respectful of them and their time. I want them to do that for me as well. So we mentioned the 30-second elevator speech. Not wear a mask. Not going to wear a political mask that says who I'm voting for. Good question, Norma. I always have a mask with me, but I'm not going to wear the one that I had specially made for who I'm voting for. The 30-second elevator speech. So here's my story. I was on Capitol Hill, and I just happened to be walking the halls trying to catch back up with my group, and I ran into Elizabeth Warren. And guess what I did? Hi. I had nothing. It just all left my brain. Okay, it all left my brain. So I wish I would have taken my own advice and written it on a little index card or something and said something. I didn't. Nothing. It was all gone. The same thing happened with Bernie Sanders when I was eating in the Senate cafeteria, and he was in there, and I was like, it's Bernie Sanders. Nothing. It's all gone. Too scared. Okay. So if I would have prepped myself and had my elevator speech ready and handy, I could have approached either one of them and would have been super excited to do so, but I didn't because I wasn't prepared. So don't do what I did. Be prepared. All right, some fun tricks. So you want to make this fun, and we talked a lot earlier about how to make it fun, but you really want to make this work fun. It can be mundane, especially with all of our Zoom meetings right now. We talked earlier, you know, do something fun. What we've started doing is a fun question of the day with all of our Zoom, and we do them sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end, sometimes we'll let other people pick them. But one of the questions was, if you were running in a forest, what are you running from? And people had like huge, like hilarious answers. Oh my gosh, bear was not the most common, but it's just fun to have something fun to get to know each other, because especially for us right now, we have a lot of new coalition members, and it's hard to get to know them via Zoom. So make it fun. If you are doing in-person meetings, like small ones, buy them coffee. No, I did not take that out of any grant funding. I bought it out of my personal dollars. So whenever I get paid, I just set like $5 aside, and I have a little stash of cash, and that's what I use to buy people coffee. You want to buy the cookie cake. Okay, celebrate more. We talked about this earlier. If we're not doing really cookie cake, maybe buy a cupcake, or do a healthy snack. Maybe buy yogurts, and everybody gets a yogurt to celebrate. Whatever it is, just celebrate. You always want to be a resource. So this also comes in with the I don't know. Angela, I want a cookie cake too. Will you bring me one? That'd be great. Always be a resource. So when I worked at a really big agency, we had treatment for mental health and substance abuse, but I was in prevention. If I had somebody call me and say, hey, I have a question about the assessment process for treatment, I didn't know, but guess what? I'm going to be their resource. I'm going to call and find out. I might end up referring them to somebody else, but I'm also educating myself because that person knows they can rely on me, and they're going to tell other people. So educate yourself. So be that resource. Hire the social media person. Social media is not my favorite thing to do. Okay, it's just not. I was able to hire somebody. I hired a college student, and they did a wonderful job. And guess what? It took them less than an hour to do what would have taken me 2 hours. So hire the social media person if you have one, or great intern opportunity. Okay. You always want to send handwritten thank you notes. We do this all the time. No, that comes out of my pocket as well. So, you know, those elected officials I showed you, they get a handwritten thank you note from me every year, and they get a holiday card. Why is it a holiday card? Because not everybody celebrates Christmas. So it's a holiday card. And all their staffers get one too. So, you know, the person I called to schedule the meeting, the person that called me to confirm it, the person who, you know, sent me an email reminder that was different, and the person I met with, they're all going to get a separate card. And it really works to your favor. You also want to engage in all different kinds of learners. True colors, if you haven't done true colors, totally look into that. There's blue, green, orange, and gold. I am a 100% gold right here with backing with blue. If anybody knows what that means that I'm an on-time person. I don't like to waste time. I'm always strict and to the point, and I follow the agenda, and like I'm very meticulous like that. But I'm also a relationship person, so I'm always going to do a check-in. So you want to try to appeal to everybody. You always want to try and follow their emotions, you know, do a check-in. You want to make sure you're following the agenda, maybe put times with the agenda, like we're going to spend 10 minutes on this, and then we're going to move on. You always want to tell why we're doing it, and that's green, why we're doing it, what's the reasoning behind it, what's our goal, what's the data to support that, etc. But then you also want to make it fun and be orange, and orange is our spontaneous person. So include some fun activities, include something random that still goes within the schedule, but it keeps orange engaged. So if you don't know about true colors, I fully suggest you doing that. And then I put the movie down here, Inside Out. If you haven't seen it, it's super cute. It's about all the different emotions that we have, and that's kind of what they look like, and it reminded me of true colors. Oh, there's some really fun things going on in the chat, you guys. I appreciate you guys telling me all of that. So happy accidents. So just a couple, and some of you, now that I see some people sending messages in the chat, know some of these. One is I needed a document signed by our sheriff. We were actually applying for the drug-free community grant. We got it on our second try, and the first try we had was when we still mailed in the paper copy, so you know it was like this tall, and I needed him to sign this document, and I had to get it in, and he was nowhere to be found. So I called his secretary, very sweet woman, and I said, Miss Donna, if I come tomorrow, can I just sit there on my laptop and I'll work and you can work and I won't bother you, I promise, and I'll bring you breakfast. She was like, oh, sure, that's fine. So I brought her breakfast, and I sat there for like 8 hours until he showed up, okay? But he finally showed up and he signed my paper, and she was super appreciative, and she also got a holiday card. But sometimes, okay, this was annoying. This was not stalking. He knew I was going to be there. I think he almost made me wait 8 hours on purpose. You might have an unexpected funder. This was also a random thing that happened. Happy accident here. I was having a meeting with someone from our sheriff's office, and they wanted to meet at Starbucks, and they said show up at 8:30. So okay, great. So I get in line, I get my little, I don't drink coffee, so tea, I think it's probably tea. I get my little drink, and this woman in front of me, we're talking about our outfits, and it was cold or whatever, you know, we're doing a little chit chat. And then I go and I find a seat outside. Well, the officer shows up, and the woman we were meeting with was her, the one I was just talking to in line. And it turned out that she was like a big person at an agency, and she heard about all the great work the coalition was doing, and she heard that we didn't get DFC on this first try. So she said, well, how much money do you need? And I was like, 20,000. She's like, I can have you 20,000. I'll have a check in the morning. What? That just happened. So sometimes it depends on the people that you know, and they knew all the work that we did. We were really vocal about it. You know, it just happened. So I have gotten a few calls from staffers in DC because they're like, hey, is CACA happening this year? Are you coming to Capitol Hill? Do we need to make arrangements? I'm like, yes, please. Not this year, but you know, we can still do it virtually, but they'll call me now, which is really exciting. And it takes years to build these relationships. And I'm sure that a lot of you know this. It takes a long time to build a lot of these relationships. So don't give up. On one of my trips to DC during Capitol Hill Day, I met with a congressman, super great. And he also heard that we did not get drug-free communities on our first try, which is devastating. So I totally, it's so hard, you guys. So he didn't get it. And he left me a voicemail. I still have that voicemail saved from like 5-6 years ago. And he said on the call, if you need me to help fund your position because we need a coordinator, then call me. He was going to write a personal check. That's so nice. That's so nice. So I still have that. And then don't forget about your university partnerships. I've had universities reach out saying, hey, I heard that you're going to write a grant and I'm teaching this class and I have some students interested. Do you want some help? Yes, please. You know, there's a lot of really great partnerships out there, not just universities, community colleges as well. Don't forget about our community colleges. They're just as impactful. So things to think about. Never know when a happy accident might happen. All right, so what no one told you about coalition work. What no one told you. As a paid staff, you're going to do a lot of the work. Okay. That is great on funds. Huh. So there's a fine line between lobbying and advocating. You can talk about funding, and that's not lobbying. So Judith, I wonder if that's more just for your position. Interesting. So sometimes you have to reward yourself. Again, like we talked about earlier, scheduling you time on your calendar, saying, I can't take that meeting because I have something scheduled. Keep your hair appointment. Keep your, you know, date with your partner. You know, do those things. Coalition work can be like herding cats. For real. It really is. We had a survey that went out for our coalition members. They had a deadline, and guess who didn't do it? The chair. Everybody did it except our chair. And we were like, oh my gosh, we can't not. We have to get the chair. Like, it took forever. I was like, you're killing me, Smalls. Okay. You'll get put on the spot a lot. This is so true. People are going to be like, oh, Lindsay, you work at the health department? Let me ask you all these random questions about COVID. I'm not the COVID police. I don't know. Okay. I know what you guys know reading the CDC website. You're now going to be in charge of all kinds of paper. This is so true. Even though we're in an electronic world now, there's still so much that's going on, right? So we still have all kinds of paper, all kinds of grants. So it's really important for the next one. You must be organized, whether that's using Google Docs, whether that's having stuff printed in binders, whatever it is, you have to be organized. You got to be political locally and statewide, but again, you're bipartisan. So if you're going to invite people from one side, you got to invite them from the other. So if I'm having a coalition meeting and I invite Brittany, then I also have to invite the person running against Brittany. Got to have both. You never know who's going to be elected. You don't have to chase funding. This one is really powerful, okay? You don't have to chase funding. Just because it's available might not fit in with your goals, might not fit your coalition. You don't want to have to change what you're doing to try and fit into funding. So keep that in mind. And not everyone will want to be involved. I have had people get up and walk out of meetings. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, okay, bye. And guess what? Usually they come back. They always come back. Well, I didn't know you were going to do this. Well, you're back. But not everyone is as passionate as we are. Okay? Not everyone is as passionate as we are. Excuse me. Okay, so I just want to look at the chat really quick. So you can't talk about it. Okay. Okay, so let's keep going. So it's okay. So these are some of the things it's okay to. It's okay to call someone, and you all said you've been calling people if they don't respond to your email. So good job. It's okay to name drop if you have to. Sometimes you might say, well, you know, Brittany, I'm calling you because Monib gave me your name. Oh, Monib did. Oh, okay. Well, it might change their tone a little bit. It's okay to brag about the work the coalition is doing, because who else is going to do it if you guys aren't? Okay, think about that. Who else is going to brag about the work that the coalition's doing if you're not going to do it? Okay. You want to reward and brag on your coalition members. I told you guys we gave ours awards, and it was so much fun. They all loved them. Some of them I've talked to recently, they're still in their office. They love them, and they're from years ago. It's okay to ask for help. You know, some people just don't. I'm not one of those people. If I need help understanding something, I go, you know, to the people I think can help me. Hey, can you help me understand this? Or this grant's asking for this, and I don't know what this means. Or we have this deliverable, and I don't know who wrote it, but I don't get it. Ask for help. It's okay. It's okay to practice self-care. You have to, especially in the world of COVID, when all we are doing is being on screens. You have to take care of yourself. So please, please, please do that. Okay, please. And it's okay if you decide to try a different career path. I've had a lot of conversations with people about these over the years. It's okay if at the end of the day you say, this isn't what I want to do. No one's going to fault you for that. It's okay to leave. It's okay to come back. It's okay to go part-time. It's okay to try something different. Okay, you're not stuck here. You should never feel stuck. So just a few more things on wellness and self-care. Okay, there can be an overwhelming feeling of burnout in coalition work. So how can you prevent this? Here's just some tips. You want to take a lot of breaks frequently. Okay, do a lap around the office, do a lap in the parking lot, have that walking meeting. Take an hour and a half lunch one day, because you're going to run over to Target and buy cleaning supplies. Whatever you need to do, take care of yourself. You want to find friends in the field that you can call and that you can vent to. Okay. You don't want to wait until the last minute on anything. I may or may not have told my boss at one time that grants were due maybe a week ahead of schedule, because she's always notoriously late. But it worked. Okay. Don't reinvent the wheel. Okay. CACA has so many great tools for you guys. So do other coalitions. So get on those platforms that CACA has available, and ask other people, hey, does anybody have a policy for this? Has anybody worked on this? What about this for marijuana? What about this for tobacco, etc.? Ask other people, don't reinvent the wheel. And also take those mental health days, take those vacation days. And when you do that, you don't check email and you don't answer work calls. Okay. You don't. It took me a long time to realize we're in prevention. That means we're not crisis. Okay. So don't do those things. All right. So the parking lot, we are almost at the end of our time today. I did have someone ask me about in-kind forms. So we do use in-kind forms, and what we do is at every coalition meeting, we have them fill them out, and in the in-kind forms, it has like, what have you done? How many hours? What did you do? And it tracks that for us, and then we put a dollar amount to that. Okay. Other questions? Oh, I see one. That's a good question. John has asked if this is being recorded. I will let Brittany or Marneve answer that. I don't know if it looks like it's being recorded.
Yes, this is being recorded. This webinar is being recorded, and so it will be made available by tomorrow, most likely as well, up on the Webinar Wednesday page, the same place where you went to register for the webinar originally. It will be posted there, as well as the recordings of all the other Webinar Wednesdays that we've done so far.
Thank you, Brittany. Yeah. I also see, oh, Gil. Hi, Gil. Gil is available to vent, everybody. He is a good listener. He was one of my NCA participants, and he has listed his phone number. Hi, Gil.
He's a great listener.
He is a great listener. Girl's also a great photographer. I remember. All right, we got a few more Q&A going on. Let's see. What is the best volunteer rate hour website to use for in-kind hours? I've noticed discrepancies between state and national. I use national because that one tends to be higher. But that's just me. Okay. Do you mind if we add you on LinkedIn? No, go right ahead. Hi. I don't get on LinkedIn as much, but yeah, you can definitely add me on LinkedIn. Oh, thank you. Woo woo, Virginia, North Carolina. It's finally feeling like fall. You guys, I put on a sweater. I was so excited. So excited that it's starting to feel like fall over here. Okay. Other questions before we roll out? Is there a website you could look at for in-kind? I'm not sure if there's a website. That would be a great question to put on the CADCA Coalition platform page and ask what people are doing. I can tell you that, you know, for in-kind, I never worry about finding in-kind. And I know people are like, what, in-kind? There's so many things we don't think about. What about office space? What about phone? What about cell phone? What about mileage? What about the sheriff's time? If you can get people to give you how much time they're spending and they make a higher rate than that national volunteer rate, perfect. I had a pharmacist who was on the coalition one time, and they gave us their rate. Between them, the sheriff, the lieutenant, some other people, in-kind was covered. You know, so just think about some of those people, and you can tell them, like, this is just between you, me, and DFC. That's all it's going to see it. Okay, so think about the things we don't usually think about. Just sit in your office, and this is what I had to do to figure this out. I had to sit in my office and just look around. Okay, well, those binders were donated, this was donated, etc. How much is the national rate? 20, 28? $28, I think. 28 something. We can Google it, Lisa. That's what I would do. I would Google national volunteer rate.
Gail put in the 2720.
That's a good rate. 2720. Oh, thank you, Bonnie. Appreciate that. Look at all these amazing people who know the national rate off the top of their heads. Maybe it was a test, maybe it wasn't. All right, so I'm going to share my email with you guys just in case. But again, if you have CADCA questions, like you want to sign up for NCA because you all want to do NCA now, you know, email Brittany, Ranib, totally go through NCA, do these webinars. Don't forget about the free online classes that CADCA has. I make our coalition members go through those. Oh, you don't know what it is to do a logic model? Let's look at the free class before we send you to do something. So, okay. Oh, you can also Google the cost of the service product and use that. Yeah, absolutely. I believe, Christy, I believe that the link for the evaluation was put in the chat. Can we put that back in the chat again?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brittany. Yeah, so for Googling about certain things like space, I usually ask, like, how much would you rent this to somebody for, you know, for a day or whatever? Susan, that's a good question. If the rate is different for youth, that I don't know. Oh, you just graduated from NCA in February? Congratulations. I love the NCA. It's a great time. Thank you, Kim. Can you get a link to the CADCA logic model class? So if you go to the CADCA website and you go to, like, you got to log in, and then there's a free classes thing, and there's several different classes that you can go to. Brittany, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about the online courses, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you go to cadca.org/learning, or excuse me, learning.cadca.org, it will take you to all of the courses that we have available.
And there's some really good ones, you guys. like I said, I encourage make our coalition board go through them so that way we're all on the same page when we're talking about what a logic model is, what an action plan is, assessment, etc.
I will preface any conversations about the online courses by saying we know that there are some technical issues with them. Mostly just make sure that your Flash is updated, and we are working to update them. It has been a process. We are working to update those. So just going in kind of with that awareness when you look at the online courses.
So don't give CADCO a hard time if you can't get them right away.
Because that's me.
But they are great. So once you can access them, they're a really, really great tool. If we signed up early for National Forum and someone is not able to attend, can we replace them? That's a Brittany question.
I am answering that right now.
Thank you. All right, and the last thing I'm going to share with you guys is don't forget to stay connected to CADCA. So the community.cadca.org, obviously LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't see a TikTok yet. That's going to have to happen next. All right, so we still have a couple of minutes. So if you want to stay on, feel free to type some more questions or comments in the chat box or in the questions, and I will do my best to answer those. When counting in kind within the coalition, what is the best way to do that? So thank you guys. The Up Coalition has a TikTok. Maybe we need to tell CADCA, maybe that needs to be a new thing. So when looking at in kind within the coalition, first you have to ask people if they're okay to share with you basically what their salary is, and you can calculate their hourly rate unless they know their hourly rate. And then I usually would sign some kind of confidentiality agreement with them telling them it's just between me, them, and DFC. Other than that, other than salary, for the coalition, you're looking at space. So like if we meet at the school, how much do they usually rent out the gym for? Or wherever we're meeting, how much does the civic center go for? How much does the church charge for that big open space that we use? Whatever that space is, that's what I would use. If you're talking about like cell phones, then I would do an estimate of how much time I spend, how much time I spend doing coalition work on my phone, and then I would calculate a rate on that. So if I spend $80 a month on my cell phone bill, but I'm spending 20 hours a week, I could calculate that. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. I appreciate you guys too. That's a good point, Astrid. I'm trying to get kids off of TikTok because of being lured by the undesirable things. Yeah, I accidentally came across some of the dark side of TikTok. It was a little scary. But like I said, I don't make videos. I just watch the funny ones. Brittany, you're being asked for your email.
Yes, so you can reach out to me at training@cadca.org.
Thank you, guys. Get Colbert to karaoke on TikTok. I love it. I bet he would. He does some live Facebook stuff. Maybe TikTok's his next step. I will share that with him as a friend and colleague. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys for being on here. Hey, Ange, did you see that picture of you? I wonder if she's still on. Thanks, Donna. Miss you. Hopefully I'll be coming up there soon.
So it looks like our numbers are dwindling off. So we'll put the evaluation link will be coming around in an email from CADCA. So if you don't see it, just make sure to check your other box. Sometimes CADCA emails end up in there. And once you do that, you'll be able to get your certificate of attendance as well with your hours from this one if you need them. But if not, please be sure to register for the other Wednesday webinars that we have coming up. I'm looking at my whiteboard that I have off to the side with all my trainings listed. On October 28th, we'll have one on coalition leadership, November 18th, coalition capacity, and then on December 12th, sustainability. So make sure to register for those, and we will see you all next month at our next Wednesday webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.